The hardest part about love was to unlearn that love was about obligation and about being caged in, and to discover and be open that love can be supportive and freeing. And now I'm getting emotional.
Oh, you guys. Hey, it's Sonia. Welcome to another episode of Men Explain. Thank you for joining us here today and for all the comments, the views, the love you've shown us so far. Today's topic that we're deep diving into: can we love again after a failed marriage? And to help us understand this topic a little bit more, we have two very special guests with us today. Please welcome Kevin and Carrie.
Hi everyone, my name is Kevin Teo. I'm a Chief Operating Officer at a local charity that focuses on social investing across Asia. So we're the largest network of philanthropists and social investors that look towards channeling capital towards all forms of impact in our region.
Hello, I'm Carrie, and I guess most people know me as a Member of Parliament from Nisun, GRC. I'm also a transformative coach, and I work with individuals on their self-work and healing. And I'm here to share about the importance of emotional wellness and healing for individuals, for families, and for the community.
Excellent. That's a lot of stuff on your plate for both of you. I mean, you juggle many different things, many different hats as well. But, we're deep diving into the topic of relationships here today. How do you start over after a long-term relationship ends? How do you go from there? Carrie, do you want to start?
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess when something that you've invested a lot of the time and emotions in for a long time ends, it's scary, it's hurtful. There's a lot of various kinds of emotions that you are dealing with. And for some people, there might be a period of time where you might find yourself afraid to love again. Well, I was there before, so much so that sometimes when a good thing comes along, you may not even, really believe it. Like when I met Kevin. Took me a while, yes.
When my marriage ended, it was indeed a shock. And there was a period where it was a deep sense of loss, right? Everything that you've envisioned and planned for just abruptly came to an end. And I think what really helped me at that time was reaching out to close friends and family support. That was critical in terms of me finding my way out of that rut. Very gratefully, the various materials that was shared with me in terms of letting go and coming to terms with who I am and what I really want to be and what does the future hold, that friends shared, that was truly life-changing for me and got me to see a different view and got me in touch with Carrie.
I like how you guys are looking at each other with this fondness in your eyes. And just moments before this, right, Carrie was helping him dab his face because shiny, shiny spots on the face. That was really, really cute. Because sometimes, with the concept of starting over, right, people sometimes get very intimidated by it. They're like, I don't want to start over again. I have to get to know someone again. I have to go through this process of dating again. Starting over, is that necessarily a bad thing? No, right? What do you guys think about that?
Well, actually, for me personally, starting over is not difficult. It's the seeing through that is difficult because, I don't know, being entrepreneurial and all that, starting over, starting new things is always exciting.
Yeah.
There's new romances are always exciting, novel. But I think the conviction and the commitment to see through a relationship and to overcome yourself and the differences and your own personal hang-ups in order to I think maintain or grow in the relationship is the more difficult part of relationships. I mean, for me So, it was very helpful that we both met each other, I guess, at a point in our lives when I think we are both ready to look inside ourselves.
Right.
And that helps a lot in making the relationship more workable and more fulfilling. Yeah.
No, we appreciate you guys being very open about your past experiences as well with marriage. We really appreciate that because sometimes it's difficult to talk about these things, on screen as well. So having been through the motion of marriage, having been through all that, what do you think were some key takeaways, for example? Was it lack of compatibility? Was it the arguments? What was it exactly that resulted in the relationship not working out?
In my case, it was actually possibly the lack of arguments.
Oh,
You know?
interesting. Okay.
Just based on my personality being very chill and generally avoiding confrontations. I mean, now on hindsight, I realized that that wasn't particularly helpful. So we weren't able to come to terms with issues that my ex-wife had, to even sit down properly and talk through them. And it got to a point where it just became, I guess, unmanageable for her. And that's when the marriage ended, basically, without an opportunity for any kind of reconciliation or alternate resolution. So I think that's been a new awareness for me.
Yeah.
And perhaps, Carrie talks about inner work and transformation. There is, and perhaps there was some part of me that was just so resistant to confronting issues, and that wasn't helpful at all.
It's healthier perhaps to address things that we're not happy with, you think? Like even small things, day-to-day stuff, I don't know.
Oh, it takes
Tell us, come on, tell us.
I mean, I noticed that about him because I'm on the opposite end, right? I'm very happy to talk about anything. And in fact, I want to confront so that we can resolve, or maybe I just want to confront because I want more attention. So it was a journey, I think, of being respectful of his space, but also being, I would like to think, gently probing to like, oh, what you're feeling, what are you feeling right now, or what do you think you're feeling, and is there something you want to tell me, and encourage more expression, right? And I have to be very mindful that if he does tell me how he's feeling and he's not feeling good about something, I need to not see that as an accusation and be mindful of how I'm responding and whether in my response it's going to make him go back into his shell some more or it's going to encourage like more opening up. So that takes a lot of awareness.
And I've gotten used to retreating into my shell very quickly, right? So it's either stonewalling or avoidance. Yeah, now I realize it's not helpful.
Yeah.
I get a sense when those instincts are surfacing, and then I have to consciously tell myself, hey, we really have to face up to this, and it's not going to go away. So how do we work things out, basically?
Yeah. I think that it's all about communication as well, right? But I think in those moments when we're angry or when we're in arguments that we cannot see the bigger picture, that's when, the arguments and the conflict arises and we just can't see more than that, I feel, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So, when it comes to how your marriage, for example, ended, Carrie, can you share with us, if you don't mind, what were some of the issues? Was it similar to Kevin, or were there other things?
It was very different. I think my marriage didn't work out simply because it was very rushed. It's more to do with, I think many women face the same issue, like you hitting 30 and you're not getting married. There's a lot of various kinds of narratives, socially, culturally, and all that makes you think that you should get married. And on hindsight, it wasn't the wisest or most prudent decision. I guess I was still responding to maybe a series of failed relationships, and I was anxious to get away from something else in my life. So I opted for that marriage. I think at that point, not fully conscious of what it really meant. So it didn't work out. And of course, there were also some incidents within the marriage that made it unsafe and untenable. So it ended pretty quickly, like in 7 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't think it's the length of time of the relationship that makes it harder or easier. And there really is no comparing whether, somebody's pain is more or less. It's just pain, right? But it's just important to take time to really dive into understanding how that happened in our lives and what is it that we need to realize about ourselves. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, who initiated the divorce or the separation in both of your situations? Maybe Carrie can start.
Well, it was me.
Okay. And
for me, it was my ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings us to an interesting study that we've been reading about. Apparently, women are more prominent in terms of initiating divorce or separation. Do you think it's because women are more expressive, or they realize this is not working, I know what I want, they are more eager to voice it out more than men.
Well, this is going to be like speaking in quite generic terms.
Yeah.
But I mean, from my vantage point or experience, is quite common that when women's emotional needs, or they perceive that their emotional needs are not met, for example, because men are less comfortable to express themselves, women also tend to guilt trip themselves a lot. So it could be that in our own worlds, we think so much, and then it starts getting really magnified. And the poor guy there, the husband, doesn't know what's going on in our inner world. And we may or may not feel, or maybe we think we try to reach out, but maybe we didn't reach out in ways that facilitated a coming together of minds. So I guess women just take in a lot. And before you know it, they like, oh, we cannot take it
Explode,
anymore.
or-
And we
it all
decide
comes
out,
out.
right? But then the guy might be like, everything seems fine.
Yeah. No, it's
There's
exactly
a
this
turmoil
way.
going on in women's worlds inside. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, actually, having done so many episodes of Men Explain, right? I realized that a lot of the men don't really ever know what we're thinking. And then when we express it to them, they're like, really? This is
It's
in
a
your
total
thought
surprise.
process? Really? Wait, do you have anything to add to that, Kevin?
I mean, to the statistic you mentioned, Sonia,
Yeah.
I can empathize with that as a guy trying to hold on and trying to make the marriage work, and perhaps to some unhealthy extent, where we might have a bit of a competitive streak growing up in Singapore, where we cannot lose, right? And a marriage failing is a loss. So it's like, how do you just hang on in there and well, maybe not even making it work. Just don't let it fail, which are actually two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When this happened to you, I know you mentioned earlier on that your healing process and all that, you spoke to friends who could help you along and related to you and stuff like that. But in those moments, did you ever feel like you would find love again? Or did the perception of love change for you guys?
I was hopeful. I was hopeful at that time, and in a funny way, the sector I'm in now is actually a women-dominated sector. So that's probably the exciting part that Carrie was talking about, right? In terms of new beginnings.
Yeah.
That was the excitement, but then there was a flip side to it, which was what do we do with our boys, and how do we kind of continue supporting them through their journey.
I don't think I thought about it that much then, because I was dealing with a lot of pain. So I think I was trying to address the fearfulness towards love and the distrust towards love. So it wasn't so much of whether I don't think I was in a state where I even wanted to find love, because it was so difficult and painful. So it took a pretty long healing process, and it took a lot of I think several years of work back at that time. And so much so that even when you think that you have healed, you would encounter a situation in your life and it will make you realize that you haven't healed completely.
It triggers certain thoughts and memories.
Yeah. So like, for example, when he reached out to me and he's like, so keen to get into a committed relationship, I was very, very doubtful. I'm like, are you sure? You just got out of a marriage, right? Like, it's time for you to play. Like, don't you want to get to know more
Get out
women,
there,
etc. I'm
yeah.
like, why would you want to commit, I guess that was a projection of my own commitment phobia at that time that I had as a result of my own negative bad experiences lah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to pick up on that. You said he reached out to you. How did you guys meet exactly, and who made the first move? Tell us the details. Now that you opened up that story, I need to
Who made
know.
the first move?
Yeah.
I think you get invite. Are we have the same version?
Yeah, well, you tell your version and I'll
Okay.
tell my version.
You tell your
On
version.
the count of three, both of you said who made the first move. One, two, three.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Okay. How did it happen?
We've been friends for a while. I mean, even before the failure of the marriage, we've known each other, and a mutual friend had connected us. So it wasn't entirely cold.
Acquaintance lah.
Yeah.
Let's say we're friends.
You knew each
acquaintance.
other's
We knew each other already.
each other's
Yeah.
existence, basically.
Yes, and I knew of Carrie's work. It was part of my industry, so to speak. And I think the specific incident that prompted me to reach out to Carrie was actually an interview in the newspaper.
Oh,
yes.
that came out. I think
It wasn't an ad. I didn't go looking for put an ad for
what was this article about? What
was it Kim
about?
Kim Ho? Is it?
Yeah, I think it was Kim Ho.
Yeah, Kim Ho interviewed you, and your story came out in the papers. I'm not a newspaper kind of person, so it was totally coincidental that I saw it and started reading it.
Yeah.
So talking about how I contemplated my next phase after marriage, I mean, just to say that I didn't think I had a terrible marriage, right? I mean, I thought things were going well. And then the question was, well, firstly, what went wrong and what can be improved in terms of things I didn't consider or have contemplated before. And for me, in terms of the next relationship, I felt it was important that I met and was with someone who had gone through a similar life experience. Right. So in an article, in an article, it described Carrie's experience, and then I was thinking, hey, there's something here. We've got something in common. Let's have a.
And you just took a leap of faith, basically. So on that note, I mean, I've mentioned this before on a previous episode of Men Explain. So I'm dating someone who's also married before, and he's shared with me also his experiences. Going out back into the dating field after the marriage ended. He went through a period of time where it was very challenging as well to heal, to get over things. Do you feel like there still is a little bit of a stigma when it comes to people who are divorced going out to date? Do you feel like it's more difficult still in this day and age?
I can imagine that if someone's still hurting in some ways, they would be fearful. And then the other reasons why they wouldn't go out to date would most likely be extensions of that, fearfulness to open themselves up again. But that being said, I also have met people who are very open to dating again because they can't wait to
start anew
and forget about the. So either way, I think it's just manifestations of people trying to cope. I don't think it's so much of how other people view them. It's more of how we are viewing ourselves and how we are judging ourselves.
Yeah. I think the hang-ups were mostly on my end.
Right.
And in fact, I mean, if I were to reflect on earlier experiences, I feel like having gone through the divorce, in a way, provides a helpful conversation starter, right? Then you can talk about what things didn't work, what things are important, and then you're not sort of dancing around many of these, I consider deeper and perhaps more important relationship questions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I have to say that there was this, when he reached out and he told me his divorce, there was a little bit of an alarm bell. Right? I think naturally, right, you'd be like, oh, what went wrong? Yeah. Was he a good husband? Why did he get divorced?
Oh no!
I mean, was there abuse or what went wrong? Right? I mean, that would be a very natural question to ask. But I guess what was really helpful was he was very open to talk about it, and he didn't talk about it in a way that made the whole wrong be on the other party. And I think what was very reassuring for me to hear was that he showed a lot of openness to own his own part of what didn't go well in his previous marriage. And I thought hey, this guy is quite introspectively. Maybe can give a chance.
All these are inner thoughts.
It was going on in my mind.
So then, picking up from all of that, in your own relationship, your communication must be great then, do you feel? You guys have good communication between the two of you?
We have to make time for it.
What do you mean?
It's really about time. I think when we are if either of us are in a very busy or hectic mode, the conversation is very functional. But after a while, you're like, okay, something's missing, right? You're feeling uncomfortable and you're not connecting. And it's really about, for me, making time to make sure that we spend time together so that we can have beyond functional conversations and check in with, how each other's feeling and share with him how I'm feeling and things like that. Yeah.
And I think we're quite open calling each other out.
In terms calling each other out. Okay. What are some, random daily stuff that you guys call each other out on? Random stuff that you can share with us.
Yeah, so what I noticed was just the other day I said I was going to meet you somewhere, right? After your presentation.
Carrie, do you know what he's about to share, or are you like?
Yeah, you were going to do a talk, and I sent you a message. I wasn't really thinking about it on hindsight, but I sent you a message saying that I was going to be there. but it actually didn't register in my mind. So even though I was making my way there, internally, I felt like it was a compulsion to meet you there. But actually, I had said I would meet you there.
Yeah.
I'm lost. I'm lost.
So we were having
what?
text. So I was having a talk, and I was expecting him to show up because
to attend the talk.
because he
Okay.
said
Yeah.
that he would be there.
Which were my actual words, right? But actually, I wasn't being mindful when I was
You
typing
meant
those words.
that you were gonna pick her up, or what does that mean?
I meant that I might go to the talk.
Oh, what? That is completely two different things.
Exactly, right?
So what did this result in a bit of a tiff, or did you call him out, or what?
No, but let's hear what was
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on in his mind.
Please continue. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I caught myself because as I was making my way to the presentation, I was doing it grudgingly
You were doing it grudgingly because
because I felt like I was compelled to go there.
Okay.
Yeah, because you had asked, right?
Yeah.
You had asked me if I was gonna see your presentation.
Right.
So I felt compelled to. And just in my mind, I didn't register.
Yeah, and then when he reached, he said, "Oh, I thought we were going to meet at home." And then I looked at him like, "But you texted me to say you're going to be here, so I thought you're going to be here lah." Then he realized that I didn't compel him to come, but he miscommunicated it.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes
yeah,
it's
so
just like
smart,
we
though.
don't, it's all about the miscomm, right? And
Totally,
we
totally.
read things wrongly as
Yeah,
well. We don't
yeah.
read into it. Sometimes we're like, we feel that our partner's angry, but actually our partner's not angry.
Yeah.
Then you're like, are you angry? And because you ask that, your partner gets angrier.
So this is the part that I think is important to share at this point, right?
Yeah.
That sometimes we are imagining the expectation.
Right.
Yes.
So in this case, he was imagining that I was expecting him to show up for
Yeah,
the talk, but
exactly.
actually it's just because he said he was
Because
going to.
I work in the area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in my mind, and this is a larger conversation because initially when we got together, and I know he has kids, I was quite worried about that because I kept thinking about, there are two kids and am I ready to be a stepmom? And all these
Yeah.
big conversations going on in my head.
Valid points, valid questions.
Yeah, and I was just scaring myself basically because when I eventually found the courage to talk to him and have a conversation about what are your expectations about me being here, he had no expectations. And I'm like, I'm just scaring myself. It was really my own expectations and projections of what I believed that being a mom should be.
Yes.
So that was me putting pressure on myself to juggle my work, which takes a lot of time and attention from me, and being there adequately for the boys, which he
Yeah.
is pretty chill about it.
Yeah.
I'm just the one who's not
He
chill.
seems like a chill guy. Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, just from observation, I think people are just figuring it out along the way, right? It's also like, even though you are directly in the situation too, you don't know what's happening next. You're just figuring it out with your partner, which is
Totally.
completely normal as well.
Yeah.
So, Carrie, what is one thing you called him out on? Like, since he shared his story, I want to hear your story now.
I wasn't, when you asked that question, I wasn't thinking about me calling him out because I don't remember, but I
Okay.
remember him calling me.
Okay. And was it that situation? No, but
No,
you
no,
remember
no.
something differently.
No, different situation.
Okay.
I think it was one of those very busy weeks when I was very caught up with a lot of work on my mind.
Yeah.
And we made a date to have brunch.
Yeah.
But when we were at brunch, I wasn't fully there. Like I was still processing my own thing and being caught up in my own world. And I guess he was like, okay, if you're not fully here, then let's finish up and go home. And then I felt like, hey, but we're supposed to be on a date.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm there physically on a date, but my mind wasn't on a date. So
Yeah.
that was me not doing my part. So I think when he didn't exactly call me out, he just said, shall we go home?
Yeah.
A bit like
Snappy.
Bei song.
Okay.
Very, very subtle one, cannot tell one, but I knew a bit bei song. Then I felt inside a bit guilty. But I behaved very badly lah. Then
And
you
you realized that immediately.
But you owned it, right?
I owned it after that. But in that moment, I'm like, you're not being supportive.
No,
I threw the blame
100%.
back on him, right? But later on, when I reflected, I thought that was really very unmindful because I was actually feeling guilty at being called out, but I didn't respond in a responsible way. I didn't say sorry that I'll try to be more present, but I basically threw a passive tantrum.
Yeah.
and
I
said,
feel
you're
you,
not
girl."
being supportive. And poor guy, I don't know. He refuses. The good thing about Kevin is he refuses to
Reacts,
use
is it?
stonewalling.
Oh, okay.
It could be a stonewall.
It could be a stonewall.
I
He
don't
just
know,
doesn't
man.
respond, right? So then I cannot burn the fire. Like there's no kindle to burn, so we can't have a fight. I just
Right.
sulk and later go and reflect on myself.
Yeah. No, but at least you have the consciousness to go and reflect on it after. I think that's the most important part. And
Yeah.
we also learn that with experience and as we mature and grow older as well, right? That's just
Totally,
normal.
totally.
But on that note, I can completely relate to you because there are days where I'm so swamped, back to back. And, sometimes with our jobs as well, it takes up so much of our brain power and our attention. So there was this one incident quite recent, actually. I did not have a fabulous day. I was just so stressed out and everything. And I was with my partner and he goes, "Are you okay? Like you seem very, highly strung." And I just like had an outburst. I was like, "I'm stressed. You just don't understand like what's going on. Like you don't." And he just kind of kept quiet. He was just like, "Yeah, okay." Like he just then we just continued, right? And when everything calmed down, the next day I apologized. I said, "Sorry, now that my stressful period is over, I just want to apologize because I thought about it." And he goes, "You know what? You were being a bitch. Like, you were being a bitch yesterday, but I just didn't want to say anything because I know that you were stressed. But thank you for acknowledging that you were not being the nicest person at
that's
that
great.
point in
That's
time."
great, yeah.
Yeah, which is great. But then it leads us to the next question as well, right? Sometimes you notice things about your partner that you dislike or that maybe I feel, I'm not sure whether this is a red flag. What is the difference between accepting your partner for who they are versus trying to change your partner to be someone that you want? You get what I mean? Yeah. Who would like to start with this
I'm
question?
not sure attempting a change should be the first course of action. I think talking about it probably is more important, and at least sort of expressing your side of the picture, right? And then to create space to hear the other side. And one outcome could be it's just not reconcilable, right?
This topic, I feel like putting on my coach hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a relationship of two people. And I've learned through self-awareness work and self-work that you can't enter a relationship or maintain or grow a relationship expecting the others to change, because deep down inside, all of us as human beings desire acceptance as one of the most fundamental needs. We desire to be accepted. So if we can sense that the other person wants us to change, it usually will create, or catalyze feelings of rebellion, defiance, resistance, defensiveness. And then you'll be at a stalemate with one person expecting change, the other just refusing.
giving it,
Because who we are is we just deeply want to be accepted for who we are. And that's a completely valid desire. But what is important, I think, to make a relationship work is also that individual ownership of wanting to be a better person. At the same time that I desire you to accept me for who I am, I also desire for myself to be a better person. And it's the dynamic of this too, the acceptance. Sometimes the acceptance helps the other person to be willing to grow. And I found that that's been how it's helped in terms of my own relationship with my parents. Sometimes we are seeking acceptance from our partners because we don't feel like we have that acceptance from our parents. Then it's a flow through, right? This us projecting. And that's how we bring our familial childhood experiences unconsciously projecting into our adult romantic relationships.
It's very deep rooted if you think about it, right?
Totally.
Yeah, it's just that we can't recognize it immediately. I wish everyone could do such deep thinking. I mean, seriously, that was so eye opening. Because you said you got your coach hat on as well, right? I think I need to book a session with you or something like to have a long talk off camera. But but before I let you guys go, what do you reckon is the hardest part about love?
Wow.
Deep question.
Yeah.
What is the hardest part about love?
I'm still learning, right? I don't presume to know many things, even with all these prior experiences. The hardest part is being open to the future together, because you really cannot control where the other person is going. I mean, you say there's a lot in terms of why it makes sense for two people to be together, and that is possibly true at a point in time, but people evolve, each person evolves, and we can stay committed to being together, but we also need to be open to change, which could be entirely uncontrollable and unforeseeable. At least for me, coming to terms with that has allowed me to love Carrie fully.
Oh, you guys. It just got a little warmer in here. In this freezing room.
Yeah. That was a very personal take. And I think for me, and it's related, the hardest part about love is to become aware of how we were taught to love in ways that we are unaware of. So in my example, how I experienced love from my parents, especially in my relationship with my dad. I mean, there was many nurturing and great parts about it, but as human beings, we tend to remember the not so great parts. And I felt very little autonomy and acceptance as a girl growing up because I had all these perceptions that my dad preferred a boy, etc., that kind of stuff. And he also operated with certain ideas of how girls should be this, should be that, shouldn't be this, shouldn't be that. So for me was to unlearn that love was about obligation and about being caged in, and to discover and be open that love can be supportive and freeing. And now I'm getting emotional.
No.
About allowing yourself to receive love in a more empowering form that you're not used to. And that was what I think Kevin brought to me. And it was a process of allowing myself to receive that.
Yeah, thank you for getting so deep with that. Thank you so much. I mean, these are things that sometimes it's our innermost thoughts that we don't even express, let alone in front of a microphone on camera and all that. So I really thank you for expressing this and really getting in depth with our audience here today. Before I let you guys go, clearly we have a lot of young couples out there watching this as well. We've got, people who are hoping to maybe settle down or maybe facing some relationship problems right now. Could be in university, could be in the workplace, could be wherever. Do you have any parting advice for them? Because clearly, as we have learned throughout this entire podcast, it took a while to also get here, to meet each other, to experience this kind of love, right? Yeah. So what would you have to say to people who perhaps are not going through the best time in their lives?
I'm an optimist in this situation, and no matter how challenging or how bleak the current situation could look, I believe that it is absolutely possible to find love as a next step, so long as you're open to it. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with where you feel something might not be working. And keep your heart open and go out there and be clear about what you're looking for, but I'm confident that special someone will show up.
In the newspaper. I never know.
Well, my advice is a little bit different, but it also complements that, which is that you never know when your right love will show up. So take the time to heal yourself. I think when we work on ourselves and we have a much deeper sense of self-awareness and connection to ourselves, we can be clearer about what's right for us so that when the love comes along, we are ready.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Men Explain. Please like and share this video and also subscribe to our channel. We drop new episodes every alternate Thursdays.
We'd love to hear your comments on what we've shared, and in particular, from the guy's perspective. So please be as candid as you can, and we hope to advance the conversation from there.
And if you happen to be inspired to want to do some work on yourself, you can check out my self-work practice. It's called Light Bearers. And you can check it out on www.lbinc.co. And I hope to bring light to your love and your life.
I love that. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.